Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Idle Talk, episode number 5.
How you going?
We,
Proudly supported by Octane Apparel.
yes, that we are. Ryan Cobb jumped on board. Damn, that was a swoosh from the start.
Shot.
We are very lucky to have one of the original Hollywoods on the couch.
Oh, poor
He's cleared his schedule. His manager's given him. The go ahead.
Wait, before we get stuck in, tell me about where this come from. Where did the Hollywood thing start? What happened there? Like what?
So yeah, we do have Casey Tolcher actually. If you don't know who Hollywood is,
Welcome.
Thank you very much for having me, guys.
So, yeah,
Appreciate it.
Now you can answer Kieran's question.
So to answer that question, that's just a bit of a running joke that we've got. The original Hollywood, the OG Hollywood, is Jay Chuntai with Tiny Towing. He started that off, and then it actually moved to Craig for a little while. And yeah, sort of then, somehow it ended up with me, and we all just call each other Hollywood. And
But was it something that happened? Like, was it something? Because I met you at Summernats and people were calling you Hollywood.
Yeah, I think it was more so just the media exposure and that sort of thing. Jay ended up on the news, I think might have been exactly what sort of started the ball on that one.
That makes sense. That's a proper Hollywood shit. If you're on the news.
But then he got a billboard 2 years running, and
ended up
Rocky
with
Nats, which really inflated it.
Yep.
Billboard in Newstead.
I did get the digital running billboard in Newstead, which was cool, and then that kind of kicked off a little bit for me. And and then I think you got a few social media posts and stuff with you. Kind of just kept going around and around.
Rocky Nats had me on the page of their newspaper that they handed out for the entrance this year, and
that's
right, pretty cool. So
for those of them who's watching, what car do you drive? And what do you do with it?
So
I've got high risk VK, blue VK. Pretty much just it's a burnout car. Essentially, that's what it's built for. And just kill tyres and have fun.
Nice, very nice.
Run amok.
Yeah. So if we want to go back to the start, what got you? Or actually, we'll go back a little bit further. What do you actually do for a living first? Let's start there.
So I'm the assistant manager of Kennards Hire in Townsville. So I look after, sort of basically everything, report to my manager, the manager of the branch.
Yep.
And so I've been there for it'll be 10 years in March 24. So I've been there quite a long time. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. And assistant manager now.
Yep, assistant manager. Yeah.
Oh,
Started from the bottom, now we're here.
Yeah, sweet. That's great. That is good. That's a hustle story. 10 years in the making. That's good.
Great place to work though.
Yeah, love
Wouldn't go anywhere else. Yeah, it's great.
I guess so moving on from that then. So where was cars in your family, or your parents or anyone in the family into cars? What got you into it?
So I wouldn't say my parents were into cars. That they definitely were of the Hoon descent in their younger days. That's for sure. Yeah. But they were a little bit older when they had me, so they weren't really around a lot of cars. Probably who I owe getting me into cars is a good family friend of mine, Rodney Meyer from Townsville. Mm-hmm. Sort of probably owe it to him for getting me into cars and that sort of thing. He was always in the cars, and always used to hang around with them a little bit.
Growing up,
for those who don't know, my mum used to breed and show Labradors and pugs, and this is having a dig at Rodney, but he used to show dogs as well.
Did he?
He used to grab a dog and run around the ring and show it off. So
did he?
So yeah, that one's for you, Rodney.
Little inside scoop on Rodney.
Yeah, a little scoop on him. Yeah, that's right. And as far as getting into burnouts, funnily enough, I actually owe that one to my mum. So many years ago, back when they used to run Ingham Car Show, really big show back up there.
Show.
Yep,
Man,
long time
I went
ago.
there once.
Yeah.
Yep. So I was probably 13, 14, something like that, and I was itching to go. I was meant to go with Rodney, but something happened. I couldn't go up. I think something happened. Anyway. And I just begged Mum, can we go up for a look? Can we go up for a look? And, we went up. She took me up on the Sunday. And it was pretty rowdy. It was pretty rowdy for a Sunday. And we went down the burnout pad to check it out. And they had the guys from Crossroads Racing.
No way.
Crossroads Racing.
I was about to start saying, but...
Yep. So they had the orange Tirana, the blown orange Tirana, and they had the blown Studebaker drag car.
Yep.
And those guys going out and doing burnouts on the pad, as well as all the other OG guys.
Yeah.
So they had Friesem Tirana from back in the day, the orange one. UC Smoke, Blow HSV.
Yep. Front to back.
Front back Tirana.
Blow HSV, that was that Taverna.
Yeah, Taverna Brothers.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the blue Falcon.
Yep.
XD or something.
Yeah.
Big V8, the big Stato.
Oh,
Yep.
man.
This was back in the day.
And it was
right?
on Bok
Yeah,
there
yeah,
as well.
Yeah, I think on Bok
On
might have
Bok
been
was
there.
there.
Yep. And
He's like a someone that's master, I think. I'm pretty
I
sure.
think he might be. Yeah,
On
yeah,
Box
correct.
OG, I love that car.
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
Yeah. That thing
And
is,
yeah, all those guys went out and put on a show. And, you know, I was loving it, but I turn and look at my mum, and she's just there like, yeah, you know, going off her head. I'm like, what? You know, this is my mum, you know, what's going on here? And, yeah, from that point on, I just sort of, you know, I just had that vision. I'm like, yeah, I want to be, you know, that guy, go out there and do that on the pad.
So that was that was
essentially,
13 years old?
I was around 13, 14, something around that.
So you still had a couple of years before you could even like drive or like buy a car.
Yeah,
Man, that's when it sets in, I swear to God.
Yeah, I think at that time I had, I actually learnt to drive in a, because we had 5 acres at Black River at home in Townsville, right? And I learnt to drive. I bought my uncle's old D21 Navara, and it was a 2.4 litre petrol manual, and it had the handbrake on the dash. You pull out and lock it in, right? And you know, I learned to drive around the yard. You know, drive a manual. Parents wanted me to drive a manual, and that's cool. And you know, I learned to drive. You know, just going steady and that sort of thing. I reckon probably about 6 months in, I was just drifting flat out all the way around the backyard. I had a full drift track set out, and I'm here pulling this handbrake out of the dash, just drifting around the yard at Black River, just creating dust. You know, it was awesome. You know,
far out.
So yeah, no, it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Man, just going back to that quickly, just that Ingham car show.
Yeah.
Yep.
Those Crossroads Racing boys, I remember. Did they do like a street driving component? There was like where they did a parade or something.
Yeah.
They used to do at Ingham Car Show. They used to do like the street cruise.
Yeah.
And what would happen is I'm not sure if it was at that time, but you could actually drive from the showgrounds to the main street of Ingham, which isn't very big and isn't very far.
Yeah.
And they all used to line up in an area. All the townsfolk of Ingham would come out just to see all these cars, you know, lapping the streets, and they do 6 or 8 laps.
Kind of like Rocky Nats now, but
yeah, on a smaller scale. Yeah. But it was, you know, back then it was just the coolest thing you've ever seen. Yeah,
hands down.
Yeah,
Hands
all these
down
blown
agree.
cars, you know, like
I remember that, especially that Crossroads Tirana for me. I remember seeing it and being starstruck.
yeah, big
Hear
chrome
that
butterflies on it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And fucking idling.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I'm pretty sure they used to skid like big rims too back in the like they didn't pop tires, but they skidded like big show wheel sort of style, like for even back then.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
I
remember,
couldn't.
Yeah, I remember
confirm
watching that being
but-
like, holy, these
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah.
It was a long
I've
time.
seen
I
that
couldn't tell you, but yeah,
a few times at Summer Nats, guys on the big wheels.
Yeah.
And they get out on the
do a bit of a demo. Yeah.
at Summer Nats on the cruise route, and they'd get a bit excited,
Yeah.
and they'd come back and they've got no tread left on
Yeah.
these
Yeah.
big wheels.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah,
just
you don't want to
thinking
pop
like,
a big
man.
20, buddy.
I remember a guy being
Something.
like, "Man, there's $400 a tire,"
Yeah.
and
And that's back then. Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
done.
Yeah. That's
you know?
right. That's right.
Anyway.
So the VK wasn't your first car.
VK wasn't the first car.
Yeah.
So my first car that we actually, you know, had, and it was my first car to drive and you know, learn to drive on the road with.
Okay.
Was a VN Commodore, and you know, it was an old girl. Picked it up relatively cheap, and you know, it was just that was my first car ever, and I had that, you know, all through my P's, like, you know, my learner's P's, and you know, eventually I got my opens after losing my license once or twice. But we won't talk about that. We've all been there and done that.
Yeah.
And yeah, eventually, 1 year, I again with Rodney and Jamie and his brother and a few other guys, we all went down to Power Cruise, check out Power Cruise 1 year.
Mm-hmm. Down in Brisbane.
Here down in Brisbane, yeah. And we were down there, and at the time, the Commodore was off the road, the VN, and I wasn't sure what I was doing with it. And we went to Power Cruise, and I was just like, yeah, sweet, you know, this is, you know, the coolest thing. And I was like, all right, I want to build a car. I'm not coming back until I've got a car to drive at Power Cruise. And it was 2 years later that I brought the car VN down for Power Cruise number 50.
Mm-hmm.
So that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
That was 9 years ago now. And yeah, it was the same sort of setup, carb ELS, turbo 400. You know, just a good little combo that just seemed to work, you know.
Yeah, okay.
Kill tyres and whatnot. I basically just set it up as a Power Cruise car initially.
Yeah, okay.
And then sort of, you know, that's what I was going to do with it. was just do power cruise and that sort of, driving stuff.
Yeah.
I was looking at trying to get it on the street at the time, but, it was just sort of, other things got in the way and whatnot. And then, we essentially took it out to a friend's place out at Alligator Creek one afternoon, which is, just on the south side of Townsville. And they had, this big concrete driveway where everyone would go out and do, skids on a Sunday afternoon sort of thing. And I kept getting invited out. Yeah, come out. Bring your car. We'll come out, do some skids or whatever. I'm like, yeah, right. I'll come out one afternoon, and I did a skid. Did a nice little big driveway skid there, and I was like, oh yeah, this is what I want to do. This is really where I want to be, sort of thing. So, and then essentially it changed from a power cruise car to a burnout car.
Yeah, okay.
And set it up and whatnot, and travelled around a little bit. We went to Cairns Auto Spectacular. What is it? Cairns Auto Spectacular one weekend.
Is that where you could do short little skids?
Yes.
They had like a little skid row.
Yes.
Almost.
Yep.
Set up.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah, they called it. Yeah, they had go-to-woes and they had like a skid demo type sort of thing where you could just do a straight line skid.
Yeah.
And then they also they opened up the pad a little bit for us that weekend, so we could actually chip in and whatnot and
sweet
and that. And car ran great all weekend. Did absolute killer skids. Ran great. Super happy both days. The Saturday and the Sunday. And we were going back to Townsville on the Sunday night, and I was driving along. And we was just on the south side of Cairns, probably about 20 minutes out. I can't remember the name of the town, but it was about half or 3/4 an hour out of Cairns. It was about 20 minutes north of Innisfail. I looked in the rearview mirror of the tow car that I had, and noticed that there appeared to be like smoke coming out of, or what I thought at the time. I actually thought it was part of winter, so I thought it was like not dew.
Yeah, like condensation.
Condensation, that sort of thing. And I thought it was that, and I was like, oh, that's a bit odd. And I drove along for like another 30 seconds, and I was like, no, it's not quite that cold. And I was like, oh, what's going on here? And had a bit more of a look, and I'm like, oh, that's black. And I had to find a spot to pull up on the side of the highway, because it's Bruce Highway. Find a spot to pull up on the side of the highway, and jumped out, and just immediately, instinct ran to the car.
Yeah.
Opened up the doors, and as I opened up the doors, just flames just come, flying out.
Holy.
It was just on the inside. It just completely started to,
go.
It from the inside out, self-destruct essentially. And I reached in for a few things. I burnt my hands doing it, and whatnot. And it was just eventually just too far gone. It was just too well lit.
Yeah.
So we lost basically the whole car. It was completely incinerated on the trailer.
Jesus.
It was a pretty tough thing to watch. After, being my first car.
Yeah.
Spending the amount of time and money on it, building it to where it was. Just to watch it sit there and go up in flames, I'll be the first person to put my hand up. So I was crying and screaming and carrying on like a pork chop.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's because it's right there in front of you, and it would take, it's not like a 2-second thing. It
Worst
takes a
thing
few
is,
minutes.
you feel helpless because you can't do anything
Exactly.
about
It took 40 minutes for the fires to show up from Innisfail.
Oh, yeah.
Because I had to drive all the way up,
So where were you?
The little part of the suburb or town, I guess you could call it, was Mirrawinny.
Is that south of Gordonvale?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's about half an hour south of there.
So near like Babinda or whatever?
A bit further south. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So did you disconnect from the tow vehicle and leave it on the or move, or
it was the fire was that hot we couldn't get close to it. So it was so hot that the fire from the car actually melted the tail lights on the tow vehicle.
Yeah.
That's how hot it was.
And trailer gone as well.
The trailer it burnt all the wiring out of it and a couple of the tyres. And the worst part was it was a friend of mine's trailer. So shout out to Aiden. It burnt all the wiring and melted some tyres. So that was pretty rough as well. Someone else's trailer you borrow for the weekend.
Yeah, yeah.
And that happens.
Yeah.
And
you're losing the car, they're losing the trailer.
But we, a few of the guys at the time, they helped us out. We rewired the trailer. and whatnot. I got it back to him. Like, the trailer was straight. It didn't cop too much heat because everything sort of rose from there.
Yeah.
The only thing we sort of salvaged from the car itself was the transmission, the tail shaft, and basically the engine. So had to get a new manifold up, sort of thing, and
like melted it. Or?
I'll ask the newbie question here.
Go.
For someone that's never actually experienced a car fire like that, how fucked was the engine? Like, what actually was wrong with it? Did you just have to fully disassemble it and go through it? Or
yeah, so we had
obviously you would, just to make sure it was all right. But what was actually fucked with it?
There was nothing actually detrimentally wrong with the engine itself.
Yep.
The carby and the manifold were toast.
Yep.
The reason, I mean, we would have pulled it down anyway, as you said, but the reason why we 100% had to pull it down was because one of the fireys just walked up and just poured water straight in the engine.
Oh.
Yeah. It was already out, and he's just walked up and just poured water straight down the carby. Like, the filter
You're like, come on, mate.
Off it, and he's just like pouring water, and I'm like...
Not a car guy,
what are you doing?
You're like, man, really? Like...
So was there a bonnet on it at the time?
Yeah.
So you just went straight to like the bonnet hole and just straight down?
Yeah, that's right.
So they didn't open the bonnet or like...
No, that's right. And I'll give you an idea how hot it was. We had like 6 aluminium rims on the back seat.
In the VN?
In the vehicle.
Yep.
And they ended up in a puddle on the ground.
Holy!
Yeah, they just melted through the holes in the floor.
I'm surprised the gearbox didn't melt if it was
Well, it's got a tunnel over it, see, so it was pretty good. I did get it checked though.
Yeah.
So it survived, which is good. That was $7,000.
So kind of like the underside of the car wasn't an issue.
Yeah, the diff was bent.
Oh, okay.
The diff copped a fair bit of heat, so it was actually, instead of it being straight, it was bent like that. Because we had it tied down from around the centre.
Okay. So it was like pulling down.
Sort of, it actually. I looked at the diff afterwards, and it was sort of both axle tubes. You could see them; they were angled down towards the centre.
Jesus.
Yeah, which was pretty wild. And
any idea what started the whole thing?
Electrical fire.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was, I wouldn't say naive enough. It's just I hadn't been in it long enough to experience any of that or see any of that, and I didn't have a isolator in it. So anyone who is building a car, first thing you should do, isolator.
Yeah.
One of the very first things you should do.
Easiest thing to do from the ground or the negative terminal of the battery to the chassis, switch in there somewhere.
Always,
just isolate the ground.
Just isolate your earth.
$20 or $30 from JCar or something. You'll get just a big red key turn thingy.
Yep.
And as hard as it was, we did have to laugh about it. And I did have a few friends buy me a few isolators as a bit of a joke. It was pretty rough.
But injury.
That is something you would do.
I'm a pretty, I can handle that sort of shit. So that wasn't.
So it was just like discharged the whole time.
So what I think happened was, because when I set the car up, I had all of the fuses and the relays in the center console to keep the wiring neat in the engine bay.
Okay.
I actually had them in the center console, and if you know what a VN center console looks like, it's like got a big hump, comes up. And you just open the lid, and it's pretty deep in there, so I had plenty of room. And all in there was secure. But what I think has happened is, because about 10 minutes prior to me noticing the smoke, a guy pulled out in front of us on the highway, and I had to jump on the brakes really hard. Mm-hmm. And I had a heap of wheels in the back seat. And what I think's happened, and this is just it's not a 100% conclusion of what happened, but this is my reasoning and what I believe happened, is one of those wheels me hitting the brakes so hard, one of the wheels has fallen forward, hit the back of the console, and because the plastics in an old car being so brittle, I think it's pushed that whole center console forward, and it's pulled a wire out, or put tension on a wire or something to that effect. And that's because when I opened the doors, the fire was centralized in the middle of the car. Yeah. So that to me is where the fire started, and that's
the ignition source is like
So you had relays and stuff in there.
Yes, relays and fuses inside the car.
So it's super easy for like a main power wire feeding a relay to pull out, short circuit somewhere.
Yes.
If you've got no main fuse coming off the battery.
That's right.
Fucking. That thing's going up.
That's exactly right, and that's what I think happened.
Up.
Yeah.
It's just going to keep going.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, as I said, it was pretty tough to watch. Watch that, and
that would rip anyone apart.
You look at it now and go, damn, I should have had an isolator in it. But
at
the time of building the car, you're so excited, and you just don't think about something like that.
Yeah,
being so young as well.
How old were you at the time?
Well, I'm 30 now. It happened 8 years ago, so I was about 22.
Yeah, so even younger than me. I'm 24 this year. So yeah.
And
I'm not 100% sure, but I think most comps now like make you have an isolator, don't they? Or like isn't like a sort of a prerequisite?
I think it's more or less just it's not like compulsory, but they would like to see you have one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if it's I don't think I've been scrutineered for an isolator.
Yeah.
They normally just check to see if your battery, your battery's tight.
Yeah.
It is a thing in drag racing where you need to have an isolator that's accessible from outside the car.
In case it's on its lid or something.
Which a lot of us ban it. Like mine's in my boot.
Yeah, mine's in my boot as well.
That's right, same as mine. Yeah. My
so you can't. It's not accessible.
You can't get to it from the outside.
Yeah. So then, if I was going to go drag racing, do I need to then pull it out? Or
I remember a lot of old school early Commodores that were drag cars, like drag only.
Yeah.
And they'd have the isolator coming through one of the tail lights.
Yeah.
You'd have like the little red key and see it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
With like an arrow or something.
Yeah.
Like
on and off. You know what I mean?
Before I hit the wall at Rocky Nuts, I had mine in that little tail light panel under the tail light in the VS.
Yeah.
I had an isolator in there. I just haven't hooked it back up.
Yeah.
And same with our old Gemini drag car. We had one in the boot just coming through the back.
Yeah.
So if it was on its lid, you could still get to it.
Problem is on a skid car, if you do that on a skid car on the back, on the boot, like where's probably going to be on fire in his fucking skid car?
Yeah.
It's like you're not going to put it there.
Kill the isolator.
The other thing with that as well, which I've thought about, is if you've got a tyre that comes off, and sometimes, if you watch a lot of burnouts, you'll see tyres, they go everywhere.
Yeah.
And I've seen tyres come up the back of a guard, like up the back of a bumper bar, hit the back of the boot.
Yeah.
And that, if that could rip your isolator off. I mean, it's not the worst thing that could happen. It's not the worst thing that could happen, but at the time you go, well, what the hell happened?
Yeah.
If you can't figure it out on the pad, you get pushed off the pad and you go,
you lost.
You'd have the shits for sure.
That's something real simple, I could have fixed it then and there and drove off.
Yeah.
That's sort of one of those things you got to look at as well.
Yeah.
So now, with the way that Sam from Snail Performance has set up my wiring, I've got essentially the first switch on my dash is a kill switch.
Yeah.
And it kills everything.
Yeah.
And then I've got the oscillator in the boot to completely, kill the system essentially.
Because yours is in the boot.
Mine's in the boot. I've got a ground isolator, probably the same as yours, just in the boot.
Correct.
And it's that switch
Yep.
on the key. Yeah. And I turn it off every time. So if I park the car at an event and I'm going to leave the car for more than 1 minute, I'll open the boot and turn it off.
I do the same. Yep.
Yeah, mine's on my dash. So when I sit down, I hold the wheel.
Yeah.
I isolate it right there.
Yeah.
So it's same thing. If I'm not near the car, it's out.
Yeah.
And then I've got a main power switch. It's the first thing I hit. But the isolator's not in, nothing's
I think where you've got it in your car is ideal and probably where everyone should have it, because even though you've got your harnesses on, you can still reach it.
Yeah.
No dramas.
Well, when I crashed in Mackay, as I saw the wall coming towards me, I had it a metre and a half, but by the time my bonnet was folding, I was already going bang.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it was already too late. I was hitting the wall anyway.
It's probably a good idea, right? Having it on the dash, because I was thinking as we were talking, where would you put it?
Yeah.
You can't put it on the outside, and probably. I mean, no offense to anyone at all, but half the fireys are probably not going to be looking for an isolator on the outside of a car.
They're trying to put a fire out first.
Whereas the driver is it's your car.
Yeah. My thought process went, if I'm hitting this wall, I don't want to bust a fuel line or an oil line or have
it combust.
Or something my throttle gets stuck on, or all these things within half a second went through my mind.
Yeah.
So I'll just kill the power, and I was already crunching the wall at the time, so then just basically died and smashed, and it happened everything happened, but then from there nothing else happened. So I was oh cool. I don't know if I saved the car or not, but it probably could have gone.
You potentially did, because you don't know if it's going to rip a fuel line out or a transcooler line out, and that's instantly half the car.
I mean, all that's already hot.
Yeah.
I mean, all that stuff's already hot, but if you turn the electrical off, then that's one less thing that can potentially cause.
Or your fuel pump stops running, everything stops. So you're not still charging
that's right.
a dash 12 or whatever, just pumping fuel.
That's right.
To the source where it's gonna.
The other thing with
just pumping fuel straight into the fire.
Yeah, just while it's still burning, the fuel pump's still running. It'll die in a minute when.
The other thing to take into consideration as well, with what you said about having it on the dash as an ideal spot, I have heard people talking about making it a mandatory thing for burnouts, having an isolator on the outside of the vehicle, so if the driver or passenger is unconscious in the event, unlikely event has happened, or unable to have the capacity to shut it off, then they can still do it from outside the vehicle.
Where would you put it?
I
I mean, this is not a like
I think in the boot,
binding agreement. I'm just asking. Well, because I got no idea. I'm thinking like the roof.
Like, the producer's about to say something here,
because you can't.
Drifting, have it on the cow.
That's exactly what I was about to say.
Yeah,
so
right.
that would be the most logical place, probably the strongest place. So if you come around and you hit a wall or something like that, it could be all folded up, and the terminals could still be touching in some way, form, or another.
Yep.
Alternatively, if the back end's on fire, then that's another thing. Generally, the front of your car, or around the A pillar and that sort of thing, around the driver, is the strongest part of your vehicle. So if you put it on the cowl just outside on the front driver's view type thing, that would probably make sense to me as the most the strongest.
Because even
part
if it was on its lid, you could still reach under and grab it.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
But I mean, unless you're going to have every spot covered, there could always be that time where, like with me, when I hit the front, if it was on the front,
You'd be fucked.
That's exactly right.
So it's like you have it on the back, catches fire.
It's a catch-22.
Like, you put it where you think, I can touch this. Like you said, if I'm incapacitated, then I hit the wall and it's still running.
Yeah.
Like there's so many, you can't have 10 of them hanging off your car.
Yeah, that's right.
You pick somewhere that you just think this is going to be the best spot, and I mean, we all hope we don't crash our cars. But
of course, and hope no one else scratches anyone else's cars, So
but if it happens, it's like, I don't think there's no best place for it. It's just have one in general.
I think what triggered that conversation was not Northern Nats this year, the one previous. There was a pretty bad accident where one of the guys from Darwin, I believe he's from, with a little Corolla bent. He come flying into the pad and eventually sort of lost control, and it actually hit the concrete, and it come up on its lid, and it spun all the way around on its lid and hit the wall again. The car was running for about 30 seconds before it actually ran out of fuel.
So they didn't actually shut it off.
They couldn't shut it off. The driver and the passenger, they couldn't do anything. They were all folded up in the car. It was pretty bad. Excuse me, pretty bad. And that was sort of what I think sparked that conversation. Just because of they were incapacitated rather at the time, and they just couldn't do anything about it. And they just had to let essentially the fuel that was in the carby or whatever run out and shut off.
So that kind of highlights the point, have one at
having
least. Doesn't
something
really,
somewhere.
I don't think it matters where you put it, but it's just going to better off having one than not having one at all.
That's exactly right. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Nothing. No comment.
Just playing next to this dickhead again.
So the VN burnt, like, I don't mean to say, but it burnt to the ground.
There's no nicer way to say it, mate, and that's what happened. And I'm a realist.
I remember the photos on social media because we were like Facebook friends and everything. And I actually, when you said it, I remember the alloy being like a puddle.
Yep.
And just being like, that thing is fucking, like, that got hot.
Yeah.
Roasted.
So then the chassis itself. Sorry to cut you off there.
No, you're right.
When we got it back home, sort of 3 or 4 days later, we pulled it off the trailer and had it in the shed, and the body was completely twisted. So the driver's side front sort of pillar and the rear passenger side pillar were both the high points, and the opposite sides on the opposite ends were the low points sort of thing. So the whole thing was just completely twisted up.
Jesus.
That's how much heat got into it.
That was the question I was going to ask, being a newbie and never been around someone that's had a car on fire, was like, why couldn't you just strip it out and go again? But obviously too much heat, and it's just
all through the subframe and everything. Those things, they don't have a full chassis sort of thing. And the whole thing, it just turned to a piece of streaky bacon, essentially. It just turned like all crispy,
So
it was bad. Crispy was the word to use.
Tail shaft out, gearbox out, motor out. And that was the only thing you salvaged from the car.
Pretty much, yeah.
And the rest of it just went off to the wreckers.
Everything else was completely incinerated,
That's... And then, so from that, what was your plan of like, all right, I want to go again? Like, obviously, once burnouts are in your blood, like, you're not going to stop. Like, and that's hard to come back from, but like, you obviously, like, I'm going to go again. I'm not going to stop now. So then what happened from there? Like, how'd you get to then the VK? So you went from the VN straight to the VK, and it's been the VK since.
Yeah, so... Pretty funny story with that one. Good friend of mine, Alex Watson. Shout out to him, mate.
Hope you're watching.
Yeah. I'm sure he'll be watching.
Going, Alex?
Hope you're watching, Watson.
So that night that it actually happened, myself and my partner at the time were just completely, out of it, and mentally just completely out of it. And he actually drove us home in the tow vehicle. He drove us back to Townsville the rest of the way.
In that same tow
in the tow vehicle, we disconnected it, dropped it at where it happened. It was in front of like a farmer's house,
Okay.
And they were nice enough to let us, take it off the road, park it in their, yard essentially. And someone from Cairns came down. Tigo from Cairns came down the next day and picked it up and took it back to Cairns, back to Colin Wolf's place.
So the fireys didn't have to do anything with the car, like they didn't investigate or anything, or wasn't
No,
like that?
no, we explained everything.
It was up to you, and they're like, all right.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
okay.
yeah. And that night Alex drove us home because we were just so completely mentally, ruined from that. And he said to us on the way home, "Oh, I've got a VK shell at home." And I said, "Oh, okay."
Already thinking about
straight up. And at the time, I was just like, I was just not even thinking. I was like, what, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And he's like, "I've got a VK shell at home. I want to give it to you."
Holy shit.
And I was like, you sure? Like, like, at the time I was a bit dubious about it. Someone giving me a shell, and he's like, I just need to do a couple of things because he had another VK he was working on. He had the shell just as a dummy, donor car dummy fit type thing.
Oh yeah.
He was trying to fit a VE dash into a VK, and I believe he ended up doing it.
Sure.
But he was just using this car as a model and pre-fit type sort of thing.
Okay.
And he said to me, he said, "Look, I've got this VK. I want you to have it. The shell owes me nothing. I'll give it to you, and you can turn that into your next skid car." And I was just, me and my partner at the time, just completely blown away. Like, this is crazy. Like, why would someone do this? And so that's where that started.
Yeah, wow.
So we got the VN home a couple of days later, stripped it, got it out, off to the scrap. There's nothing else you could do to it.
Yeah.
Saying goodbye to it then was a bit emotional sort of thing. And probably about 2 months later, we picked up the VK from his house. He was in Townsville still at the time. He lives down here now.
Mm-hmm.
And got the VK back home, and just immediately just got stuck in, ripped the 202 out of it, and just started cutting up the back end, putting tubs in it, and just dummy fit the LS, make sure everything fit. Just essentially snowballed from there.
Yeah.
And I have to say, the amount of support that was given to us from the NQ car scene and just the car scene in general, whether burnouts or not, any sort of car scene, the amount of support was really insane and just overwhelming.
Yeah.
And I'll be forever grateful for the help that everyone gave us.
Mm-hmm.
It really sort of helped us get through that time. Some people might sort of think, oh, it's just a car, like, why are you crying so much or whatever.
Yeah.
It was pretty rough.
Yeah.
And, it was pretty hard to watch. And just the support from everyone. There was some monetary donations. Kev Davis, shout out to Kev, and a couple of the other guys organised a bit of a burnout day at the Cairns track there.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone paid a skid, and that sort of, that money went to us and helped go towards the motor in the car and any sort of parts we needed, to help us get back out on the pad. But that's the, the camaraderie that we experienced, and, I will forever be, in debt to them, for doing that for me. And, Kev Tier, Kev Davis, Tigo, Colin Wolf, everyone sort of, everyone, you all know who helped me out.
Yeah.
Thank you, from the bottom of my heart and my family's heart. That really helped us out. Even now I get a little bit emotional talking about it. Just the support was incredible.
It shows you what this burnout scene or the community is actually all about.
Yep.
I know a lot of other motorsports, like, people are kind of against each other, and I think we talk about it often. Like, at an event, at some point, like, you are competing against all your friends, but that kind of gets pushed to the side.
It's second
weirdly,
place.
Weirdly,
100%.
People run over and give someone a part off their car to get them to skid.
Yep.
I don't know. I'm not trying to shit on any other motorsports, but I don't think that happens at too many other ones. We saw Bubba in Rocky Nats, run his fuel, rip his fuel cell out of all what, and then running across to give to Kev Davis because he split his one just so he can go and skid again. But then that gives him a chance of winning. But in Bubba's mind frame, it's I don't care about you could beat me with this help. It's I just want to see you skid. I genuinely want to see you skid. People just seem to go, oh, you need this? Yeah, I got one. I'll give it to you. I'll rip it off my car and give it to you.
It's a very taking sport, but it's also a very given sport. There's lots of people that just give so much to it. And
that's exactly right.
They'll help. They'll give you the shirt off their back if they have to. I remember, it's probably a couple of years ago now, but I remember seeing a post of someone split their fuel cell and Bubba was literally in the straight in the back of his car ripping it out to borrow it.
It's sort of that's the whole thing, and that's what I love about the sport is you know, as much as we all have like our you know, rivalries and you know, playful rivalries and that sort of thing. Everyone is generally friendly and friends to people, and if someone needs help, like generally, I'll feel bad if I can't help someone. You know, if I don't have a part that they need, I'm really sorry, man.
I should have that. I should be able to help.
Yeah, like the very least you can do is share it to help them out. You know, someone that you might know that they don't. No.
You gave me a fucking engine. Like,
yeah, that's right.
Like,
you know.
Has anyone got a blower? I've still mine's not rocked up, and I just
just rock up to a van and be like, you know what? I think I left that 871 at home. Yeah. Have you guys got a spare one laying around?
Spare 671 laying around?
You do your skid, then rip it off and give it to me.
Anyone got a spare 540 big block laying around?
But like,
I just left mine at home by accident.
Yeah. But like, people do genuinely help each other. Because you just want to see someone skid.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
And like I kind of look at it from an outside perspective sometimes. Like, or I think we kind of forget about like we are still competing against each other, but that definitely gets pushed to the back.
I want to see everyone else do well as well.
Yeah,
I don't want to see
you want to see your friends do well. That's
I don't want to
exactly
see anybody else do shit. Like everyone puts in the same amount of effort and the same amount of time, the same amount of sacrifices.
I can't think of a single person. Well, maybe I could, but I can't think of a single person who, if someone put a post out saying, "Hey man, like my carby shat itself.
Yeah,
I need a meth carb, for, you know, suit LS, whatever, like 650 to 950. Mine's shat itself." And you're sitting there, you know, and say it's for the finals, and you haven't made the finals, and you've got one. There's no fucking way you're not ripping that off.
10 minutes, it's
There's
out.
No
10
way.
minutes, it's on the other car.
That's right.
Another
then
couple
you get it back
to
once they're done. Happy days.
I couldn't think of a single person who wouldn't rip. Well, maybe there's a few, but I couldn't think of a single person who wouldn't rip their carby.
No one that we know wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
No one that we hang out with would not do that. Like
even yesterday at Fridays, like when you're having drivers with your steering and you're like, right, waiting for this part to come so I can put it back in.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, put a fresh set of tyres on Pinky and go and drive the fucking thing.
Yeah, you were,
And you're like, I'm busy doing this. I'm like, well, you just said you're waiting. Just take the keys and go for it. And you're like, what are you going to do? I'm like, I'll just
He
sit
genuinely
around.
meant it. And I had to turn him down because we had to do a diff swap in Brett's
I was going to say same thing with Brett. He lunched the diff and I just said, well, I've got my spare one out of my Turbo VG just sitting at home. Go grab it and whack it in.
He grabbed it and we literally fit it there and he was out fucking cruising
in the 37-degree heat.
Yeah. Just swap in the pits. But it's like, I've got one of them at home.
The same vein. It's like...
Yeah, it's a half an hour drive, roughly, or even longer, 50-minute
That's
drive
what I
for him
mean.
to go and get it, to then come back, and then to put it back in, and then get back out. But
amazing.
It was either call it a day at 11:30 or spend 2.5 hours getting the new diff in there, and you can get another couple of thrash sessions.
Slick's back on, and he's out there driving again.
Yeah. He ended up doing a few nitrous pulls with the new diff in it.
So you got to see the smile on his face and like how happy he was. You're like, well, this is what... We all are friends could be like, well, you lost the bet, like you didn't fucking win. But it's like, no, go and grab all the shit and we'll all help you chuck it in or whatever.
100%.
That's the thing. Like, I love seeing
that sort of shit.
I love seeing people have a smile on their face, enjoying their car, you know, because I know how much I enjoy my car and I know that people would help me if I needed it.
Yeah.
And have experienced that and how much, you know, that joy that brung to me.
Yeah.
And, you know, if I can reciprocate that, then, you know, I'll be all for it, 100%.
Yeah.
It's a big out for a lot of people having a car, or just having a hobby in general. But having a car, it's a big stress relief, brings you back down to earth, you know. It's a very calming experience, but it might seem like chaos at times. It's a very calming experience, being in the car and just driving. Just being able to drive.
Forget about shit.
You do. As soon as you're on the loud pedal,
as soon as the green light goes,
nothing else matters. Nothing else matters.
I've actually, talking about exactly what you're saying, I've actually written a bit of a story about, you know, what it's like as soon as you stomp on that throttle, there's nothing else in your mind at all. And as a cliche as that sounds,
it's true.
It's true. You know, like there, you know, you could have everything going on in your life, and as soon as you stomp on that throttle,
just goes away.
Just there's nothing else on your mind at all.
Yeah.
It's just, you know,
and I think
skid,
you ask
or
any
drive, or, you know, whatever it is, drift. You know.
Yeah, you ask any like driver or competitor or whatever you want to call yourself. Like there's weeks or maybe a couple of months leading up to an event where you're like, there's tears, there's blood, there's sweat, as like cliche as that sounds, but they all happen, and then you're fucking stressed out. Then you finally get there, and then something doesn't work, or if everything goes right, you drive it and you get to do whatever you're doing. All that shit is gone.
Yeah.
Like you don't even care about that shit anymore. You're like, all that just went out the window. Like I experienced it with you at Fridays. Like
it was one pull.
You got there, you did a few laps, and
we
you're
did
like, fuck yeah.
One gangster ass power skid.
Yeah.
And that for me, I could have, the car could have blown up, and I would have been like, sweet.
I did one hectic brake job, and then I was happy.
Yeah. Because I looked at you like I was filming, and I looked at you, and you're like, hoo. And I was like, all that shit that you went through all day trying to fix your brakes and then like fix your steering and everything, all that stress and everything just went away.
Yeah.
Watching you just start shredding tires, I was like, it's all that shit's gone. I know, and in the time and in the moment, you're stressed out, and if anyone comes near you, like, don't fucking talk to me. I don't want to hear it. Or
I blew up Deluxe for a couple of times.
It happens, man.
I'm sitting in the car.
Cold as fuck.
I'm sitting in his car, like, in the driver's seat, and he's like, give it a bump. So I'm like hitting the button, like bumping it. And then I watch his fist clench, and he just walks away, and I'm like, did I do something wrong? I'm just bumping the button. And then he like walked away, then he come back, then he walks around and goes, hey, get out of the car for a second.
I was pretty rude. I was like, get out of it.
Yeah, and I got out, and I looked at like shifting, and I was like, because the bonnet was up, I couldn't see what happened. I was like, look, Shiv was like, what the fuck is going on? He goes, he's angry about something. I was like, righto. And I've told him before, like, when you get to that point, just fucking walk away for a minute. And then come back and you'll be like reset and everything. And like, we all fucking experience it. But yeah, he was just like,
fucking cars.
I watched this go. I'm about to fucking punch this thing. And then from then I'm like, I'm not going to offer you my car now because I did before when you were
just
okay,
hold the fucking thing flat.
Earlier in the day, sure, but after that day, I was.
Then I'm like, go and fuck yourself. You're getting my keys now.
Speaking of holding it flat, we'll move on to the next question, and that is, what is your favourite event and why? Not even just event on its own, but what's your favourite style of event? Just burnouts on its own, or like Fridays with the variety?
Look, after this, this Friday's just gone yesterday. That's definitely back to the top. That
it's a top event.
It's a driver's event.
Yes.
Yeah. That sort of thing. Like, I love putting on a show for the crowd. Absolutely. That's I'll absolutely love it. But when you can get back in your car for a day and enjoy it, just on your own.
Yeah.
Even though there's a few people watching or whatever, that doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
When you can get in there and enjoy it on your own, it's this is,
that was a big really thing cool. for me. Was just, I didn't care how bad it went. I was just happy to drive the car on the track and just be there with the boys having a good time. The heat sucked, but
it's sort of, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, Craig. It's sort of hard to pick any sort of favourite event. Because every event has their own merits. And that's really a question that I couldn't really give you a definitive answer for. Because every event's got their own merits and enjoyable things about it. You've got some events that are just really family based, which I've got a couple of young kids, and that I love being able to take them on a cruise and that sort of thing. And then I love skids, and then also love driving my car. So
that's honestly a fantastic answer. Because I don't know about you guys, but Summer Nats, I don't think I'd take my kids to, but something like Powerfest, I think I would, because there's jumping castles and all that stuff. You see kids running around all the time, but Summer Nats, you don't really see really real little fellas and stuff getting amongst it.
When we had my pair at Summer Nats, the last Summer Nats we went to, not this year, I think it was last year. It was a lot of people, and that was the year that Main Street became the new Tough Street.
And
that's when it got really...
Is that 2 years ago now?
Yeah. And we were actually in a marquee on Main Street. And there was a lot going on right in front of our marquee, and that was pretty lit. And it was sort of... Get that environment, having the kids, it was sort of like, how long till we pull the pin and go back to the room? I wanted to stay. I was loving it. But then I was like,
as much as I love it,
you got to become a dad, or like at some point.
As much as
dad mode's got to kick in at some point.
Kids, you're right in there.
100%.
You just don't like. As much as it is cool in some aspects, you see some of the videos on Tough Street, and you don't want your kids even being close to that shit.
No, that's right. And they were like 20 meters from it.
As much as it's cool in some aspects, it's pretty like degenerate.
His stories from that day, holy shit.
Hunter was running amok that year as well.
Yours was on fire coming back from the
that was hectic.
Like I didn't do it intentionally. But it's I can understand what you're saying. Like someone that isn't built with jumping castles and
that's what I mean. It's not a kid. It's not a kid.
It's family friendly, but it's not a kid.
Yeah, it's not a young kids.
Yeah, they're not there to put on a show for the kids.
It's to satisfy the adults.
Yeah.
It's to satisfy the big kids, not the little kids.
If you're lucky enough to be there from when you're about 11 or 12 years old and up, that's when the bug hits. For me, it was Summer Nats. Seeing
your first pair of tits.
Any of you remember? Tough Street, the tits are out.
That's why Ryan goes, sometimes like boobs.
Yeah.
I remember from like Summer Nats 17 or something. It was the Vince Organ sponsored. They're all wogs in Falcons, and they all had like crazy paint jobs, and they all had Vince Organ stickers on the side. And I looked it up, but it's like a spray shop in Sydney.
Yeah, okay.
Anyway, but
showing your age there, mate.
Who I remembered from no, mate, you gotta be joking. They were who I remembered from Summer Nats, so that was like who I saw. You know, you pour a bit of water on the cruise route. They were the guys who were proper bagging it up. That's what got me right into it. Reading Street Machine, getting keen for Summer Nats, and seeing these Falcons bag it up on the cruise route. I was done. I'm like, I must. I met Chick Henry once, and I was like, I'm going to bring a car back here.
Yep.
And it was actually fun.
Elaborate on that story, because I think it was on the pilot that we didn't upload.
I know. It was fun.
He ended up getting in trouble by security and got sent to Chick Henry in his office.
And he was a kid.
So I was a kid.
Yeah, right.
I filled up a wheelie bin full of water because I realised that if you pour water on the cruise route, guys were bagging it up. And that's all I wanted.
It just went all out, straight to a wheelie bin. There was no bucket. You just went straight to a wheelie bin.
Yeah. Or a water bottle just start at the top.
I had like a litre water bottle, and I was just sick of filling it up and going, and it was like not even doing nothing.
Yeah,
so I was like, fuck this. Found a wheelie bin, started filling it up, and everyone around, all the adults around were like, "Oh, it's the water kid." I'm like, "Yeah, let's go."
It's so the water boy.
Filled this
water
wheelie
boy.
bin up.
Bobby Boucher's here.
I think
that is fucking Anna.
Dad was making dinner over in the tent, and
where were you on? Like, sorry,
so you know where the Summer Nats where we just went, where Matt Watts was and that, and we were stopping and we were just kind of up the hill there,
bagging it up on Skid Hill.
I bagged it up right there.
Where did you come around towards the front gate?
Literally right there was where we were camping. So that's where we were, right? Yep. So
So when you leave the pad, turn left, you're like up that hill.
Yes,
right past the survey.
Come out of the pad, turn left, about.
You go through the little gully, and then just as you're going up that hill before it turns left again.
And you come around that corner. And that's where we're camping.
Today, that's still a fucking wild place.
On the Thursday, man, yous were all lighting it up so bad. And yous all got a message too. It was fucking hilarious.
Because those guys that camp on that part, like, they fucking...
That was Matt Watts that year.
And you can't not do it.
Exactly.
Like, fuck me dead.
So anyway, I was filling up this wheelie bin full of water out of a tap. I had it leaned over, and I don't know, probably put 50 litres in it, and I was dragging it up, and one of the adults was helping me and shit. I was just a kid, like teenager, 12, 13, maybe. It was my first Summer Nats, and I was loving it because I'd been G'd up. My parents bought me a Street Machine subscription, so I was reading it every month, and I was getting G'd the fuck up. So anyway, we went down there, dumped this wheelie bin on the fucking cruise route, and it got fucking rowdy, right? This is where Vince Organ fucking cars had come up, and I'm like, and they've got big cams, high comp. Some of them were on methanol. Like, this is back in the day where everything was 98.
Yeah.
Some of them were even on methanol, you know, and you're like, oh my God, it's one of these cars. And you're just like, yeah. And then he'd fucking bag it up, and you're just like, oh my God, like 400 horsepower was huge.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know?
You're showing your age a bit there, mate.
Yeah. I know, but this is what got me stuck in. They had some ex-military security guards there.
Oh, shit.
So I had old mate fucking, I don't know, but he was like, couldn't speak English.
He was swole like you.
I shouldn't have said that anyway. He couldn't, anyway. Literally grabbed me by the scruff of the neck and was like, you're done. Like plainclothes security, right? It was full on.
Fuck.
So he grabbed me. I was like on, half on the road. He's like, I know you're the instigator. Like, you're done, mate. Drags me off. My dad sees it, comes over and he's like, what the fuck's going on here?
Yeah,
he's like, you guys are out. Pack your shit up. You go back to the camp, pack your shit up. You're going to the office. Dad's like, nah. So anyway, we get marched down to Chick Henry's office. He's sitting there. It's like a demountable building. It's near the burnout pad sort of thing. And I got talking to Chick Henry. He's like, tell me what happened. So I told him. And he's like, why'd you do that? And I'm like, because I just love to see cars skid. And he's like, you're right into it, are you? I'm like, absolutely. Like, there's nothing, like, I just love it more than anything else. And he could see. And he was like, so you want to come back? And I was like, yeah, like, oh, fuck.
You were telling him, you were like, I want to bring a car back.
Yeah, he's like, you want to bring, like, are you going to bring something here? I was like, yeah. He's like, when you do, make sure you come and find me and show me. And he's like, what are you going to bring? And I was like, I'll bring a VN. I just
because he loved his VNs at the time.
Yeah, it was my favourite car, or like whatever it was.
I mean, VNs are good cars, mate. You've got to trust me. I've got a bit of a soft spot, you know.
Yeah,
yeah, that's true.
And
That's true. I'll give you that. Yeah.
So much fire the chassis twists on
yeah.
the trailer.
Yeah.
There's so much fire.
That joke was lit, mate.
The chassis twisted off the line.
The joke was lit on.
I've got plenty of fire pins. Go on, please continue. Sorry.
It was fucked that the year that we took puddles down, so it was the engine in your car. We were down at the burnout pad and Chick was getting photos with his car next to the pad. And I was like standing there and I was like, that's Chick Henry, blah, blah, blah. I should go talk to him. I should go say, you know, maybe he didn't remember, maybe he did.
Yep.
And I never did. I never went up to him. I never said g'day because I thought I'll respect his time. You know, he's getting a photo shoot done. I didn't want to encroach.
Didn't want to be rude. Yeah.
And it was that year, and then it was we were at Rocky Nats.
The Rocky Nats.
We just finished up on the street cruise, and we were loaded up on a tow truck coming back to the thing, and we got the news that he'd passed.
He passed away.
And I did shed a tear in the tow truck, and like you seen, I still get emotional thinking about it because it's like a big regret that I didn't go up to him and be like, hey, I was that dickhead pouring water on the road.
The wheelie bin boy.
I said I'd bring a car back, and I know I don't have my car here, but I got part of it here.
Yep.
I did it, you know?
Yeah.
I did it. And it was all, I mean, in a way, it was all thanks to him, you know?
Yep.
And then the next year you did take your car there.
Exactly.
Next year you did.
It's a pretty touching story, honestly.
Oh,
it is.
Yeah.
I just love that you got in trouble from the dude who started it all. And then you're like,
he was
a
like,
wheelie bin full of water. Like, you do that shit now, they'd be like, bro, there's the gate. Get the fuck out.
He was, like, he was really good.
Yeah.
He was what a genuine leader would do. He's like, security is saying you need to get out.
He didn't lose his marbles. You know?
He could see.
He could see the passion.
He could see the passion,
and he could appreciate the passion.
And I was like, oh, please don't, because my dad.
Because your old boy's getting thrown out too. Yeah,
old man's. And I'm like, I don't want to pack up camp. I swear I'll be good. I just want to see the cars.
No more wheelie bins.
He's like, no more wheelie bins. Go back to your camp, have some dinner, call it a night. You're all good.
And what do you remember what date? Like, was it the? Are you
it
the
was
start?
like the Friday.
Oh right, so you're just getting into the weekend. Yeah.
So we just started.
Oh,
you still have the whole weekend to go.
We'd set up camp. I think we arrived on the Friday. Set up camp. We had a little spot. Blah blah blah. And I was just like, right, like let's go.
Yeah.
Anyway,
that's interesting because when we went there when I went there with your engine, we did like one lap, and he's like, "Wait, man, let's just start doing mad skids on this." I was like, "No." I was like, "I've been here for a couple of years now.
Yep.
I know what happens if you start doing this shit." And he's sitting beside me. It's gone. Just start fucking torching them. I was like, no, I'm not getting thrown out on the Thursday. And he's like, don't be a fucking pussy. Fucking do it. I was like, no. And then we did another lap, and he's like, oh, I see what's going on. He's like, you know what's happening. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to get fucking thrown out on day one with your engine in it. I was like, I'm not fucking doing it. And he's like, oh, okay. And then the next year he took his car. I'm like, are you going to fucking do it? And he's like, and you were fucking playing up like
right
a second-hand
spot,
lawnmower.
bro.
Yeah.
Right at that spot, I was second into top.
Yeah.
For like, I don't know, a couple of seconds. Smoked the fucking
Didn't
place
matter,
out.
you cleared the place out.
I don't want to drive fucking 13 hours or whatever and then get thrown out on day one. But he's beside me like, it's my engine, fucking do it. I'm like, no, I'm not getting thrown out. Like,
and you just be like, it's my fucking car.
Yeah. Like,
so what you're saying is he's a born instigator from that story and then your story.
Yes.
100%.
So now it all makes a lot of sense. But then I'm like, fuck it, we're going to get thrown out on day fucking one.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh no, you'll be fine. And then he started watching what was happening. He's like, and he goes to me, I'm so glad you didn't listen to what I said. I'm like, I wasn't listening to you regardless.
It's very strict,
but
man.
Yeah, like I didn't drive all this way to get thrown out.
Dudes are getting
100%.
the stickers pulled nowadays, and rightly so. Like, I'm not trying to say you're soft or anything. It was like, it was just, I was in the moment, and I was like, that little kid come out, and I was like, let's do some fucking skids, because there's going to be a kid there who's wanting to see it, right?
Yeah.
But nowadays, it's different. You can't.
You do get there though.
That's right.
You do get there, and you do get like G'd up. Like you get there's something that like takes over, and you're like, fucking. I wish there was a part of Summernats where like I know there's Skid Row and everything and the burnouts, but I wish there was a part of the cruise route where you could just give it like
there's just a lane where you could just fucking
put concrete
pump
bollards in between, going one way, and you just get to rip it up for like 20 meters on the main street.
Yeah,
because that's what everyone wants to see, and then you get to, and then
basically a Skid Row section, but in the cruise route.
Yeah. Like that would be a game.
But everyone's going to go through it.
What you find is
it's
people,
mandatory.
What you find is people just take it too far. You know.
Yeah, which happens. Yeah,
oh,
which is why Main Street, like Tough Street went to Main Street, and then Main Street become like a riot pretty much, and they shut it down. And then this year it got even worse, so they shut it down again.
Yeah.
Like,
but they put in Skid Row to sort of
ease that
itching feeling of trying to do a skid. Yeah, that's right.
Because I think it's like you've got a burnout pad, you've got Skid Row, so they are like sanctioned places to do burnouts. If there's an unsanctioned place to do a skid, that's where everyone wants to do a skid. Because that's what looks cooler. Like I like that's why people do skids on the street, which I don't condone, but that's what people, like that's why you do it, because there's that element of getting caught and getting in trouble, which people like.
Rush.
Some people, the rush, or some people thrive on that. It's like we all want that little bit of I could get caught here, but I'm just gonna do a little one. Like we went through. Tyler drove your car this year.
That was gangster.
We were all like half pissed. We'd been like watching skids, going to the bar, grabbing beers. Fucking come around.
Full pissed, not half pissed.
I was in the back seat, hanging out the window.
We come back to camp. And Kieran goes, "Who's sober?" And I was like, I knew exactly what had happened. I was like, "This is the moment I fucking wish I was sober." And Tyler goes, "I haven't had a drink like all day. I haven't been to the bar once." Kieran's like, "Right, we've all been watching skids. We kept running back and forth to the bar, buying beers. We're all fucking trashed. You're driving cuddles." Tylen's like...
This is Tylen Barron you're talking about?
Yeah, literally loaded the car full.
Yeah,
Kieran's in the back seat of his own car.
Kieran jumped in the back. I think I jumped in the front. You were in the... you were behind me in the passenger... Like in the back passenger seat. I was in the passenger seat. Tylen's like... Fucking... We had a car full. We're lapping around. We get to basically Tough Street where like Skid Row starts. Security stops us. And he goes, "If you're going to do a fucking skid, do it here. And just do like half of Tough Street."
We didn't hear. None of us heard.
None of us heard it, but Tylen heard it. And so we're all... And Kieran's sitting in the back of his own car, and Tylen just goes, "Yeah, brass, no dramas." Bang!
Trumps it.
Bang! And just starts melting tyres. And I'm like, "Oh, you're getting thrown out in his car."
Yeah.
And he just lights up Tough Street. Then he backs off. And we're all like, "What the fuck is going on?" Tylen goes, "Oh, the security guard told me to do a
skid."
But we're all like, I'm thinking, bro, you're gone. Cuddles is gone.
Yeah. You're getting Kieran
Stickers gone for the weekend.
Would not have cared. Would not have cared.
Yeah.
I was down for it.
It looks gangster as fuck.
I was down for anything.
And we're all drunk and we're fucking loving it. But Tylen was the only one who heard actually what was said.
Yeah.
And then he pulls onto like the main street, like around from like the top 60 hall.
Yep.
Chucks a left, and we're all like, "What the fuck?" Car's full of smoke and shit. Because it wasn't long. It was probably like 10, 15 meters or something. But it was enough. Like,
3.0 gears, it's making some smoke.
Yeah.
And we were like, "What the fuck? That was gangster." He's like, "Yeah, old mate told me if you're going to do it, like, do it here." We were like, "That's fucking sick." Like that, and it was, like, like that whole day. By the time we got back to the camp, we all get out, we're like, that was fucking absolutely gangster.
Man, Tylen, he couldn't stop. I swear it was like 10 times he come up to me. He's like, "Man, I've just got to say, it was just absolutely amazing. Like, thank you so much."
Yeah.
Like, he was so appreciative. And I was like, I'm appreciative that you didn't get on the beers, mate.
Yeah.
You
The car would have sat out.
have a fantastic time at Summernats, which for me is what it's all about.
I would have been half pissed trying to do it, being like, "Nah, it's the methanol, man. It's the alcohol base." He'd have been like, "You're not blowing the 2.0 on fucking methanol." But yeah, that was one memory that I'm like, fuck. And I know that you made like his event, like even though he had his own car and shit there, like, he goes, "Here's the keys to a blown car
at Summernats." It's like,
fucking
and
then the security guy goes, "Wait, do a little skid like right here."
Yeah.
And you're like, fuck, man, like that was it was.
So radio, watch this motherfucker.
Yeah, and he didn't hold back, but we're all sitting in the back. I was like, I'm about to get out of the passenger seat, be like, the main gate's over there, drive out that way, Tylen. I'll go
You're just ready to be kicked out.
I'll go get the Tolcher, I'll pick you up on the other side, because you're fucking exiting.
You're done.
Yeah, you're exiting stage left, brother. But yeah. And then he's like, no, it's all good, it's all covered. We were like, fuck. Like that was, it was fucking, it was pretty sick.
Yeah.
Speaking of blowers and Summernats, what's the next upgrade for the VK, old high risk? What are you thinking?
Oh, the next upgrade for the VK definitely won't be a blower anytime soon, I can tell you that. I mean, I'd love to, but you know, I do this on a pretty tight budget.
Yep.
We get a lot of help from our sponsors and that sort of thing, which, shout out to them. You know who you are. You help us out so much. But yeah, not a great deal as far as plans for the VK. Plan is just to keep it running and keep it skidding at the moment.
Yep.
Which sort of, as far as plans, that's probably about it. Always wanted to have a blower. That'll be something down the track, but might not be anything in the immediate future. But as far as comps and that go, not entirely sure what I'll be doing next year just yet. But yeah, just I'll skid where I can for sure.
Yeah,
it's just what I love doing.
Yeah.
So would you say NA? Like, 'cause I know after Fridays you're saying like more power. Skidding down the main straight, you're like, fuck, I want that power just to be able to go lean on it. It just goes.
Yeah, I want to be able to be on the throttle until I'm going too fast for the corner and then have to let off.
Yeah.
While still making smoke.
Yeah.
But that's still something you want and something you can do and afford is two very different things. Yeah.
that shit talked.
Wants and needs.
The producer's like, fucking boost.
Yeah. I think he was doing nitrous, that one.
A little bit of giggle gas.
Wow. We saw what happened to a nitrous car, so...
Lunch the diff.
Brett. No.
That's right. I would always love to put a blower on it, but, the trade-off comes with, with reliability and whatnot. And
drivability.
Touch wood, my car's been... super reliable for the time that I've had it.
Because you at Fridays you were VIP, so you got to go in like everything.
Yes.
So you did 6 sets, is that right?
Yeah, I killed 6 sets of tyres,
in one day.
Yes.
In one day.
Yeah.
Yes.
And only one
It's become a Fridays ritual where it's over 5 sets are getting done by VKs.
Yeah, so actually one skid and one demo skid, which is 2.
One set of rims though.
Shout out to Eric and Miles for sorting out all the tyres for us.
But the producer's like, fuck, I know how to change them all. You're the one that fucking brought it.
Yeah.
But so you did 1 skid, 1 demo skid, so 2 like actual skids.
Full skids.
The other 4 were all on the track.
On the track, cruise sessions, thrash sessions.
Yeah.
You're a hoon, mate.
I know.
You've been bagging it up.
Yeah,
so you just
I've
fed
seen you.
Yeah, it's wild.
You fed it tyres, you fed it fuel, and that's all you did.
Tyres, fuel, and I broke one little alternator wire, but that was it.
Yeah, which turned out was actually broken. It was just
I initially thought it was the alternator because it dropped to 12 volts, and generally when I kill on alternators, which I do tend to do, for some unknown reason.
I was like, who kills alternators?
I don't know why they like 7,000 RPM or not, but anyway.
You gotta slow them down.
Slow
them down.
And that's usually what
if I kill an bashing that does it.
Yeah, if I kill an alternator, it'll just drop to 12 volts and it won't do anything. And I was out on track, I think, with you at the time.
I was going to say, because you're like tapping the gauge. I'm like, it's sitting on 12, brother, keep feeding it. You're like, that's my fucking alternator. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't give a fuck, keep going. I'm like, why are you tapping this one in particular? I don't care.
Yeah.
And he's like, it's stuck on 12. I'm like,
you're like, mate,
what's the problem?
I'm
like,
keep doing skids.
Yeah, I'm like, it ain't boost, brother, keep going.
Yeah.
And he tapped it like 3 times. He's trying to yell at me while he's power skidding. I'm like, stop tapping the gauge. I don't give a fuck. I'm
enjoying this.
Yeah, I'm trying to film. I'm like, keep doing what you're doing. And he's like, no, me fucking alternator. I'm like, get a new one. What do you want to say? Like,
generally, I know if that gauge drops to 12 volts, either one of 2 things have happened. Either the alternator's died or the drive belt snapped. Yeah, which has happened to me both on multiple occasions. Yeah. Over the years.
It happens to him fucking a lot for some weird reason.
Every time I drive it,
he stabs, cuddles, and alternator belt's gone.
Yeah.
It's some weird.
Anytime it tags limiter, the belt's gone.
Does it snap or does it just?
It just throws it.
Just throws it.
So it doesn't snap. It just pulls it off.
I thought the one at Rocky Nuts had snapped.
It did, but often it gets caught up in the blower belt and it gets shredded. That's what happened.
Just a tiny tap from something else, it'll pop them off
it's
at that
just
speed.
Yeah.
So if I hit it,
moves, then it comes slack for a second, and it pops off, or something like that.
Yeah. Just
is that right? Yeah.
If I get it just right and I go second, you basically got to in second gear throttle and gear change at the exact same time. And the lag on the gear change gives you time to get up there in second, and then it changes to top, and then it
without limiter
sits about 7.
You can't even hear the gear changes in his car. It just sounds like it's in first the whole time, but it's not.
Yeah, it kind of it's a fluid motion. Anyway, if it doesn't tag the limiter, it won't spit the belt.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. That's interesting.
But if it does, guaranteed 12 volts. And then I'm tapping the gauge, and Craig's going, ooh.
Yeah.
I'm like, don't ask me to look at the gauge. I don't need to fucking look at my own dash.
Yeah.
Oil pressure, 0, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
No pressure.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
No worries.
Is the car still running?
Pressure, no here.
Yeah.
Is the car still running? Keep fucking power skid,
Keep going.
I've been actually trying to get some content, brother. Like, keep
Yeah,
going.
Let's go.
Don't tap your dash at me.
I could just feel it like a little bit. It just felt tiny little bit underpowered because it normally runs at 14 volts.
Yeah.
I noticed the same thing. It
flat
doesn't
out.
burn properly.
Not quite as much, yeah. Like I've
noticed the same
skidded,
thing.
and I actually did all those power skids yesterday or at Fridays, just on the 12 volts, just on the battery.
Yeah.
What I was doing, I was rolling up to the line with my fans on, and whatnot, and I'd go to do my power skid, turn the fan off so I'd have as much voltage to the MSD as possible.
Oh, right.
And just stand on it. You know, it's only 10 seconds or whatever. And then as soon as I'm done the power skid, I'll just flick the fan back on so there's not as much power draw on the MSD sort of thing.
Yeah, that's smart.
Yeah.
That's actually a good call.
Same, like I've been able to skid a couple of times as well, just without an alternator, or without running the alternator, I should say.
Yeah.
A couple of times I've killed an alternator, not had a spare. I think once I've done it years ago at Charters Towers. We just pulled the two terminals, the terminals off the back of the alternator, taped them together, wrapped it right up in rags so nothing would arc. But we had to leave the belt drive on the alternator to run the water pump and all that.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So the alternator wasn't producing power, but it was still in the belt drive.
Still running the water pump and everything.
And I did 2 skids on just the battery power alone. So, but I did always feel just a little bit less, voltage. That you don't feel like you got as much power underfoot sort of thing.
I think two of Craig's skids at Powerfest were did you notice a power difference at all?
I didn't, but...
but then again, you could have had a fully charged battery. You know, it could have just been enough.
Kieran ran his Hilux for like an hour and a half.
Yeah, I remember that, yeah.
Because I had never done it before, and I was panicking.
You were freaking out. You were like, I don't want to get 30 seconds in and it just dies. And
I was like, we snapped a belt, and we didn't know until the Sunday morning, so it was the final day of, I still had a V8 skid.
I think you finished your Saturday skids and you popped the bonnet Saturday morning. You're like, I don't have a belt here anymore.
Yeah, so I didn't realise, but I drove back to the pits. Like, everything's all sweet. So sweet. We wake up in the morning, we'll put tyres on, put fuel in, happy days.
Yep.
Looking at everything, Damo pops a bonnet and goes, your belt's laying on the ground. And it was snapped in half.
Yeah.
And he's pulled it out. And I've
done that multiple times.
So then Ryan and Damo's dad started running around my car trying to find one. Couldn't find one.
I bought 3 different size belts and nothing fit. Nothing fit. And they couldn't get the right size. I had to order them in.
Yeah. And I was panicking because I was like, fuck, I've never been in this situation before. And it kicked me in the guts. Like, I was riding a high, being like, I've done 4 good skids. Not that I'm I wasn't thinking about in a chance to win or anything. I'm like, I've just done 4 good skids. I'm feeling good.
Yep.
Riding into the final day, riding a high. I want to do 2 more skids and then put it on the trailer. Happy day.
Yeah.
And then Damo's like, held this, and I just fucking, my mood and everything just slumped.
Yeah.
And it just
went
knocked
into a
the
state
wind out
where
of my
it's
sail.
just,
Yeah. And then I looked at the boys. I was like, I can't fucking, I just need to walk away.
Can't focus. Yeah.
Yeah, because I wasn't angry, but I was just deflated all of a sudden. Yep. And I was 10 seconds ago riding a big fucking high.
Yeah.
So it kind of shows what it can do to you, I guess.
Yeah,
mentally.
100%. But
and then Kieran's like, just skid, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, I don't know.
You were thinking of all the bad things. You're like, what if I get 30 seconds in and it dies? Or what if this and what if that?
I haven't been in the situation, so I don't know what the possibilities are. And they're like, dude, full battery, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right. So
the way we were thinking is we're going to push it the whole way up to the start line.
Yeah.
And he's only got a minute to get the tyres off.
And then turn it on. And
That's
then
exactly
we got to so Mackay has your stage here, and then when that guy is pretty much done, they pull you around and then you start.
Yeah.
So the ladies pulled me, said, start and pull on. So I pulled up to the start line. I'm sitting there waiting, and she's like, just wait until I give you the green light. And then
you're like, I need to go. It's running.
But then
I
the
need
pad
to go.
staff come out and they start cleaning the pad, and I'm like, fuck.
We're burning battery here. Let's go.
Yeah. Which is the only thing going in my head.
Yeah.
I wasn't even thinking about the skid. I wasn't thinking about anything. I was just watching my dash and being like, fuck, please don't start dying. Did the whole skid, rimmed it, drove off, and I was like, so now I have confidence in. If I'm in that situation again, I'll be fine.
If you kill a belt mid-skid, you'll be fine.
So then I went and did it again, but I did it again though without a belt again.
Yep.
So now I've done it twice, and I'm like, all right, happy days. I've been put in that situation. I didn't ask for it, but it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But now I know my car will do it with a charged battery. I'll be fine.
Yeah, 100%.
But like he said, leading into it, I was fucking panicking.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm going to look like a fucking idiot. I'm going to get out there and be 20 seconds
you were
into
on song, and people don't realise you actually won the V8 class of that event, but you were on killer skids all weekend. You were on charge to win the event.
Yep.
And then you only had one or maybe two skids left to do. I think it was two skids left to do.
I had one in each class, I think.
one in each class, and then it was just alternator gone.
A $30 part, and you're like,
exactly. It's always...
It's going to kill my weekend.
Not that I was thinking about like, I'm the top one. Like, if I don't do this,
it's just about getting back out there.
I just wanted to
doing a good skid.
Yeah, I came here with 6 tyres. I wanted to bang them all. I wanted to put the thing back on the trailer, and I just wanted to go home with all sets done.
And it was going so well.
Yeah, and that's
you
the
want
thing,
to keep that going.
Yeah, you're like, so I think that's what the win that got knocked out of Marseille was I was cruising mentally, being like, fuck it, this is the strongest car I've ever felt. New
carby on it.
Yeah, like
not new, but different.
Everything was going great, and then all of a sudden it just took this $30 part that just. Fuck it, I was just flat.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is a shitty feeling.
Yeah.
And I don't want this just to fuck up my whole weekend.
It's funny how something like that can just flick the switch.
Yeah.
And just sort of put you in
a down mode.
Disassociative state for a little bit.
Yeah. And had to walk away, and I sat down, which I've told Kuhn to do before. So I had to walk away, sit down, and be like, it's just a fucking alternator belt. Like, just calm down. It's fine. You'll figure it out. And then the boys are like, dude, it's going to be... So he ran his Hilux for an hour and a half in the pits, just charging my battery.
Yeah.
Just to give me that false sense of security, being like, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right. And now I've done it twice. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Like, happy days. Now I have nothing to worry
It's like
about.
worst case scenario. If you do lose a belt, chuck it on charge for an hour and you'll be sweet.
Well, it's for that reason that I run an N70 battery, so like a full drive battery.
Yeah.
So it's got big cranking amps.
Like
It'll last for ages. That's the reason why I put that. Like, I had to buy a bigger battery box to suit the N70 battery, to put a bigger battery in it so it can last longer in that instance that it does need to, and it has saved my ass a couple of times.
Yeah.
You know,
I've seen blown cars with dual Optimas in them.
Yeah.
Because especially mechanical ones, if you're cranking for ages, trying to get fuel pressure up and shit.
It draws it down, 100%.
Or a lot of big boys running magnetos and shit like that.
On that too. I was thinking about this the other day, actually.
Know how that works.
You ever watch Sicko, like, wind over? Like... It seems to wind over for ages before it actually goes.
I think it's just mechanical pump.
And I thought about it the other day, I'm like, fuck, because
they also
say don't let your starter motor wind shit. And I'm like, watching him, he's like fucking going.
Decent gauge cable.
They also got the old tomato sauce bottle, squirting it down the intake. I think it might be unleaded.
Just to warm
it up.
Yeah, it's the one car I think about. It's one car I've actually watched and focused on. Like, when he starts it, it just seems to wind for ages, and then it finally goes.
It's an old school thing to wind it over, get the oil pressure, and then as soon as you see a bit come, you switch your ignition on and it fires straight away.
Right.
Wait for oil pressure.
The fuel's going through.
That's what it is.
It's all cycling through. It's getting ready, and then as soon as you flick the magneto on, it's fucking bang.
Right, see, that's pretty much my process with the Commodore when it's cold. Is I'll turn the the isolator on the dash, so the main one on the dash, and then it doesn't give any power to the MSD, doesn't turn the fuel pump on, doesn't have fans. All I do is just crank it until I see like 10 to 20 pound of oil pressure.
Oh, right.
That can take anywhere from 10 to 30 seconds.
Okay.
Which I'll give the starter motor a break if it takes a while. I'll let it run. I'll let it have a rest. Build oil pressure, shut it off for a couple of seconds. 10, 15 seconds. Let the starter motor cool down, and then go through it again. The main switch, and then ignition, and then fuel. Couple of pumps,
right? Okay.
And then fire it up.
All right, yeah,
sort of thing. So it's got oil pressure there immediately when you first fire it.
On this topic, how do you maintain it? What do you do for maintenance, and especially in between events? What do you do? Like, run us through.
Yep.
Anything and everything. What do you do in between an event?
Yeah, so there's a little bit in it. My car's relatively simple, so it's not quite as bad as what some of these other cars can be. Or as in depth as what methanol cars and that can be at times.
Yep.
I change.
God, here we go.
Yeah, here we go.
now the party started.
So we got the director on board.
Now the beauty's here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what do you do for maintenance?
Yeah.
Nipples hanging out.
Yeah.
Just quietly, just the Friday's just gone. You know how Winginit just has to change oil and tyres?
Oh, fuck that guy.
Didn't even change oil last event.
Didn't even change oil. Same oil from Mackay. Fuck that guy.
What do you have to do for maintenance?
So I'll change engine oil and filter between every comp without fail. The transmission gets serviced, drop all the oil, put a new filter in it every second comp. Or if it's a comp with a lot of skids, or like what I did this weekend, I will definitely be doing it again after this comp. Once it goes home. As far as letting it sit between comps, I will do that. with my experience with the 85, a lot of people have experience with like gel appearing like in carbies and fuel pumps and that sort of fuel.
Any sort of alcohol you have.
It can happen and have seen it happen, but I haven't experienced it. I generally sort of fire the car up every 6 to 8 weeks, something like that, at the very least. Sort of thing, like just I'll fire it up in the shed, let it get a bit.
Is it just to cycle the fuel as well?
Just to cycle the fuel through, because it's got a return fuel regulator and that on it. So it cycles the fuel through everything, keeps everything lubed. I now run as the at the request of my engine builder Tony Brinkley. I run a M2. I run like the candy scent upper cylinder lubricant through it,
which like lines everything.
And, it just lubricates the upper cylinders between comps and while you're actually running it and that as well.
Yeah, it just eases that build up, just having that coating around.
I'll go right under the car. Like we've got a hoist on home now, Eric's hoist. He was nice enough to have a hoist there and put it in my
Cheers,
shed.
Eric, for being director.
Just while we're on that too,
his manager's sitting just over here.
Big shout out to a good mate, Eric Anderson. He travels with me a lot. When I say a lot, I mean every single comp we go to.
Whether he's asked or not.
Right-hand man.
Yeah. He's got no choice.
Right-hand man.
Mate, without Eric yesterday, I would have been doing nothing, mate.
That's right.
He was just bringing me your one set of rims.
Brought your tyres flat. Yeah.
Eric, do you want to come and sit on the couch? You can sit right here.
Come on. Jump in the middle. You sure?
Get your beautiful gander in, buddy. Come on.
Come on.
Go on, just for a little bit. Just for 10.
Take your hat off and jump on here.
Come on, Solo.
I won't see your pretty face.
Big man behind the scenes here. He helps out a lot.
But yeah, without this guy...
talking to that one if you want to talk.
Yeah. Without this guy here, we wouldn't really get... I wouldn't really get to a lot of places where we go to. He travels with us all the time. Keeps me awake on long drives. Yes, he talks a lot. But he does a lot of...
Case in point.
Yeah. He just helps out. He just helps out wherever needed, and he's building his own car, so that'll be in the... that'll be hitting the streets at some point in the next, 10 to 15 years.
Where do we get the merch? Where's the you got the shirts?
Yeah, where's the high risk merch at? Where do we get some?
Yeah, I got some merch here. I'll give it to you boys before we go.
Where can the audience get some?
So jump on HIRI2K Motorsports on Facebook. Send me a message, and we got these black tees. We got the full color shirts.
I'm loving the full color shirts. They're awesome.
Yeah. We got some coolers. Don't mind this one's a bit old and dirty, but.
Do something like that one day.
Yeah, getting back to it, without this guy here, the amount of help he gives us, and that, we wouldn't be able to do it essentially.
Yeah,
that's
kids.
And he doesn't want anything in repayment for it as such. He just loves getting to the events. Yeah. Loves going in the car. He gets in the car.
As long as I don't have to drive and I can drink the whole fucking
You're a true Miles.
He gets in the car when Dad's not there to fight him for the front seat. My dad loves getting in the front seat, but
professional passenger.
Professional passenger. Yeah.
That's the thing for us.
He's the passenger princess.
Gotta love him.
Yeah.
We like the team. So
it's a team effort, man. Yeah, 100%.
Winginit Motorsports, you might only see Kieran's ugly mug and Pinky's shiny head, but we are a team of that many people that we just want, like you said earlier, we just want to get out and have skids.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what we're all about.
Get out and just have a good time and make sure that everyone we can help to have a good time.
Yeah.
The amount of tires I aired up yesterday at the Fridays event, great event by the way, Ryan. Keep it up, we love it. Can't wait for the weekend. Yeah,
righty.
Mate, we just want to help everyone. We just want to see people skipping.
Yeah, 100%. Yep.
Especially the blown little dick over here.
Little 4.8 wishes he was a 3.8.
Little small block, I meant.
Little small block.
When you're 4.8 but wish you're 5.7.
Oh.
Sometimes it matters.
Hey, size matters apparently, so...
You wait till we import some 4.3 V6s, mate.
Oh, wow.
I've got him on board. I'm slowly getting everyone on board.
Yeah. Everyone wants to build a V6. What the fuck?
But yeah, getting back to it, I'll go, me and Eric, between us, we'll go right over the car, we'll lift it up on the hoist, go, check every nut and bolt underneath the car, grease the tail shaft, check everything that we can. There's a few little things that have happened to the car, over the years, that sort of teach ourselves to check between comps as well. Okay. Case in point with that would be probably one of the most recent issues we had last year. maybe the year before. I killed a set of... yeah.
The mechanic. There's heaps of issues.
You know, when I say issues, it's, you know, hasn't done anything to us on the pad, but, you know, we've noticed it after the comp. One of the issues we noticed was killed a set of colour tyres up at Northern Nats one year.
Yeah.
And during the skid, I felt this massive vibration through the car. And I was like, what the fuck is going on here? And anyway, killed the tyres, drove it off, you know, all good, drove it on the trailer. And we got it up on the hoist. I think it was about 6 weeks out from the next comp coming up. I do leave it a little late sometimes. Whoops. As everyone does.
Don't we all?
Yeah. Should I procrastinate a little bit between comps? You know, don't we all?
Yeah.
And I just happened to grab the tail shaft, and I moved it up and down, and I noticed quite a lot of excessive movement in the extension housing.
Oh, right.
Where the tail shaft goes in, and I like shook it, and I was like, that's a lot.
Do you have a roller bearing now or a brass bushing? Because when Mr. KB came with us, the first event we went out with him, we're driving along, mate. This thing is dong 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 dong. He's like,
the whole car's like, I'm like, everything's fine.
Don't worry. He just does that.
Yep.
Kieran's like, is it normal? You're like, no, it's not.
The gearbox bushing literally looked like a football.
It wasn't in there.
Yeah.
It walked.
Well, that's exactly. So what happened with mine was that the vibration actually forced the bearing inside the extension housing. And I didn't pick up on it, and I was like, okay, that doesn't seem right, the amount of movement that was there. I sent a video to Tony from Brinks Performance, and I was like, is this normal or is this excessive? And he's like, yeah, that's not normal.
You got it up on the hoist, it's clink, 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 clink.
Yeah.
You're like...
Yeah, I was like, yeah, okay, I better get this looked at. And he said, just take the extension housing off, bring it to me, let me have a look. And I pulled the extension housing off, found the bearing sitting in there. I'm like, yeah, that's not meant to happen.
What box are you running?
Turbo 400.
Turbo 400?
Yeah, 400 only, all the way. Yeah.
There's pests in fucking bushes, I tell you.
Yeah.
So you're missing a pedal in the driver's seat?
Yeah. It's two fairy pedals, but you know, the amount of smoke that comes out.
Bicycles have two pedals as well.
Yeah, that's exactly
Only push bike should have two pedals.
And so we fixed that. But yeah, just little things that have happened over the years we've sort of picked up on, and just things that we make sure we check between comps and that sort of thing.
Same thing with us. We go out to any event, we notice like similarities between issues with the cars.
Yep.
And because a lot of us are LS, some of us haven't grown up yet. Sorry, Ryan.
Oh.
But a lot of
You're
us
excused.
LS, we notice a lot of issues throughout the cars
Yep.
that correlate with other issues we have
Yep.
with the other cars. So we learn and we grow and we know how to identify these
Yeah.
things.
Well,
Same thing with you, the repetition of going out to different events, and then you notice a little tweak, like maybe the ball bearing's gone in the front driver's side or something.
Yeah.
And you notice that.
I'm pretty meticulous, like, you know, when it comes to like changing oil and that sort of thing, and habitual with it. Yeah. I'm that meticulous that, you know, and Eric will tell you, just a few days before coming down here, I noticed the colour of the engine oil wasn't to my liking, simply because I'd changed oil about 3 or 4 weeks ago, getting ready for this weekend, and for some reason the oil it had a bit of a milky colour to it, a bit more than what would happen normally. Yeah. And
that's normal, mate.
I just wasn't. Well, not for mine. See.
Don't worry about it. Don't they all get milky?
Yeah. Oh no. This was before I'd even taken it to a comp.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I'd put fresh oil in it, and it had gone milky already. And I was a bit concerned. Okay. I was like, okay, well that's not right. And I had a bit of a think back, and I thought, oh, okay, I don't think because what I would normally do is get it up to temperature, get like right up to temperature, nice and hot, and then drop the oil and take the rocker covers off because, you know, E85 alcohol fuels, they get past the rings eventually, gets into the sump. Took the rocker cover. I normally take the rocker covers off for a couple of days, put some rags over it, and let all of that moisture that's in there, being hot, makes it a lot better. It evaporates into the air, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I remembered that I didn't do that this time. And what I found was, even after putting fresh oil in it, it went pretty well milky straight away. And I was looking in the Clearview, or in the B&R clear top filter, and I was like, I don't really like that.
Shit.
And I'm that meticulous that I'll change that. And, you know, for the sake of 8 litres of oil,
really clean.
for the sake of 8 litres of oil, I would rather waste 8 litres of oil than potentially waste an engine.
Yeah.
You know, based on oil color that doesn't look right.
So what was it that made it go milky? Do you think not taking the rocker covers off, the moisture out of it?
Yeah. So what happens is
there's that much moisture in the engine.
Yeah, that's just from the E85, and you probably won't find it quite as much as far as moisture goes with alcohol, but it contaminates in a different way.
Okay.
But E85 tends to draw moisture in.
Yeah.
Because that's just the nature of it. And what happens is when you get it hot, get the engine hot, it all rises, turns to steam.
Yeah. Okay.
Goes right to the top. Where's the top? Your rocker covers. And then once you fire it up again with the new oil, it just mixes again with that.
Yeah.
And then it just turns it to milk, which
I've
I
even
just didn't
noticed-
like it, and I was like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah,
I'll
yeah,
waste
mate.
8 litres of oil before I waste
With
the
the
engine.
risk of an engine, it's not worth it.
I don't know what you're worried about. We've drained Cuddles out, and literally, you could have sold that to me as a caramel milkshake. And I was like,
Yeah, I've got
like,
it still in the
looked
drum at home.
amazing.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah. Oh, it looked
amazing.
tasty.
And you know what? He did 2 more skids on that oil.
Yeah.
Loved
Yeah.
it, bro.
Yeah.
We drained it. He poured it back in. He didn't. But like,
I would though. If I had to, I would.
Yeah.
if the budget was as tight as Casey reckons his is, we would have put it back in.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Blower.
And
over here.
it is. Trust me, it is.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So we'll start winding up. We'll get one more question. The demo skid at Fridays.
How was the demo?
How was that for you? To travel down from Townsville, never been to Fridays before. Been a long time since, I think 9 years since you've been at QR.
Yep.
You got to demo on the front straight.
How
by
was it
yourself
to
in
just
front of
chuck it
everyone.
around?
How was that for you? What'd that feel like?
That was honourable. Really an honour to do. And shout out to Ryan and Amanda and the rest of the Fridays crew for putting on an absolute cracker event.
Yeah.
Here.
Cheers for taking us.
The guys,
Cheers, Ryan.
the guys from Octane Apparel who sponsor the show. You guys put on an absolute insane event. And just the amount of fun I had through the day. Getting chosen to go out to go do a demo skid on the front straight. That was
Bucket list,
Mate,
Bucket list
that
tick,
is literally
man.
a dream thing.
100%.
I can't talk for anyone, but
Well, you do
personally,
talk a lot. So.
I'm talking for Damo right now. And for the last couple of years, all we've ever spoken about is how Handful or Luxifer get to go out and do those demo skids for the other promotions like at Power Cruise
Getting
or
that track
whatever.
to yourself.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
he was like, he was giddy as a little schoolgirl.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Kieran will cut that out. But
Fuck.
he absolutely loved it. And for me just being an Eric in the background, doing what I can to help everyone do what they can do to get out on the track.
Yeah.
I almost shed a little tear just watching Damo
Yeah.
drive out onto that front straight by himself to do a demo.
Yeah.
skid.
And
Like,
I got to say,
it was amazing.
Kieran, I know you were selected for that session. I did feel really bad about taking your spot. So, thank you, mate. And again, I'm sorry.
Man, I'm glad you did it and it wasn't me because I literally had no brakes. The pedal was going on the floor. When I parked it, I had to guess when to put it in neutral so it would roll to a stop. It was literally that bad. So
Did you borrow?
I still felt a little bad.
Did you borrow Pinky's chalk?
Could have been.
He's one chock. One wheel chock between
I got
3 cars.
Mate,
just remove the H and I was
I
there.
might start fucking mass producing chocks around here. Fuck me.
But thank you, mate. And
Yeah. It got you on the
But getting back to it,
That was good.
that was a definitely a highlight of the day. The event in itself was just absolutely insane. As we said earlier, a driver's event, and it was just absolutely insane. I loved it. I loved every single bit of it.
Yeah.
Being able to get sideways on the last turn, coming onto the main straight. Power skid the main straight. Yeah. All the other events, power skids.
Get chopped by everyone in the drag
I
racing.
got chopped by absolutely everyone, man.
But you loved it.
I loved every second of it. I
Could have
didn't
been worse.
care.
You could have been a Lambo against a VT, mate.
Yeah.
You know who you are, by the way. You know who you are.
You could have been Craig. You talked mad shit and then get chopped by Damo and like fuck.
That was a fucking good race though.
But
at least you turn around and chop me. So
hey, boss man's boss man.
That's it. Yeah, you can't upset the boss man. You got to. I let him win, right?
But yeah, like
you heard him, Damo. You heard him.
But yeah, to put it out there, like anyone who has any questions about Friday's event, hit me up. But it was, a cracker event, and I had that much fun that I could have gone home before the burnouts.
Yeah,
a happy man.
Yeah,
I didn't even have to do a skid that afternoon.
We did go home before the burnout.
He got the skid.
I was lucky enough to get. I was lucky enough to get one skid in before that pretty gnarly storm hit. But yeah, like I had that much fun. I would have been happy, even though I'm a burnout guy.
Yeah,
I would have been happy to go home before the burnouts and not done a burnout. Yeah. That's how much fun that I had through that day.
Yeah, which is and that just.
That's saying something. That's just saying how much of a driver event it really is, because you're either out of fuel or tyres, or you're just sick of driving 100%. Your fucking car.
Yeah. I think I went through. What did we go through? About 100 litres of E85, maybe a bit more.
That's being polite.
And
we just kept going back to that survey.
Just let me check with my service technician here.
Yeah.
We just kept going back. Just get some more fuel. Go out more, get some more tyres on.
Yeah.
Like,
You're welcome.
Yeah.
And you're welcome again.
And thank you to Miles for changing all my tyres over, mate.
Don't fucking thank him.
The same set of rims three times a day.
Thank him,
You could have brought him over.
$10 a strip and fit unless you know Russell Crowe.
Yeah.
Old Hollywood over here.
Now they're cracking at each other. It's like, oh shit.
It's like having 2 miles.
Yeah.
We got this is what
I've still got my front teeth.
Got far north Queensland miles and southeast Queensland miles.
I'm missing the ones on the side. I'm missing the ones on the side, but I've still got my front ones.
We got Miles squared here.
You can make a jaw between you. Is what I'm hearing. But we're gonna wrap it up there. We're done. Everyone's done.
I think so. This has probably been about an hour and a half long.
Yeah, definitely degenerated down as soon as I sat down. We've lost
all interest.
There's definitely gonna be a couple of edits laid on in the video.
We've lightened up and had a good time.
You just see a random cuts and you're gonna be like, "What happened?"
If you're watching this and the video chops and changes since Miles sits down, it's because he says some fucking
just quickly as well. We love you, Gail. Sorry about the.
Sorry, Gail.
But.
Stop fucking doing it, man! Edit this shit out.
Well, you can cut this off 20 minutes ago.
YouTube doesn't like it. I need to do it, otherwise we get demonetized. Then I'll be drinking water and not beer.
YouTube just got to stop being by the sounds of it. Thanks.
Anyway,
tune in next time as well. We've got Craig's shiny head and some other people.
All right, we'll cut it out there. Thanks for watching. I hope you had a good time. Thanks for Casey. Thanks for Eric for travelling down from Townsville.
And
thanks to the guests for showing up on our shitty podcast.
Thank you guys for having us, and thanks Craig and Z for having us here as well.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for watching.
It's been great
because you guys are the reason we do this.
Yeah.
And we really appreciate all of you that tune in. And if you like the podcast, click the like button.
Fucking podcast.
Yep. And
subscribe.
If you got any comments, if you got any questions for Casey or for any of us,
or Eric or Miles,
we'll
anyone.
have Risk Motorsport in the description.
If you're questioning why Miles sat down, which is a fair question.
Understandable.
Kieran had to go and powder his butthole.
Put it in, ready for later. Hey, big boy. Put it in the comment section below.
And with that, I'm out.
We'll answer it. But thank you very much for tuning in. And if you've got any suggestions or anyone you'd like to see on the next podcast or whatever, drop your recommendations below and we'll see what we can do. But we definitely have a few spicy guests lined up for the future. So we're not going anywhere at all.
Nope, we aren't.